Welcome back, Dolphins fans. Hit that like and subscribe if you like this video. I think we just witnessed, obviously it was a terrible game. It was not the greatest game, but to be honest, man, Tyler Huntley looked like worlds different than the last time. We're not really going to go over the stats. I think he was like pretty decent completion-wise, maybe like over 100 yards. Did some running, which we thought he should have done in the past couple games that he played in. Did it this game. We end up beating the Cleveland Browns and keeping the playoff hopes alive. One of those that I just did not think it would be a real thing, but honestly, if we win next week and Denver loses, then the Dolphins reach the playoffs for the third consecutive time. Here's the thing, and I think we need to discuss it right now. I made a video a little bit about it before, but Mike McDaniel is showing that he yes, he has screw-ups, but so does every head coach. He deserves to be the head coach of this team. It was unfortunate what happened at the beginning of this year, but that's not something that he can control, and it's a different style of offense. And what it's showing is that sometimes you bet on people and they don't show up. And it wasn't necessarily that the Tua thing, obviously we needed Tua in those games, but it was the fact that he trusted Skylar Thompson to be what he kind of thought that he could be, and he just didn't do that. So it kind of put him into like a whole loop where he had to find some, other quarterback. It ended up being Tyler Huntley, which, as we see now, Tyler Huntley in this offense, he's not really that bad. He can be pretty decent. So if we had Tyler Huntley in the beginning of the year, might have been a different story, or in the offseason to be able to, practice this stuff, because seeing him in this part of the season looked pretty good. It's just one of those things that it wasn't just that Tua went down. It was that Skylar turned out to be a humongous dumpster fire of a quarterback. And that's what's kind of screwed this team up. And you thought maybe after 3 years that Skylar Thompson would have done something different, but he actually looked worse than he ever looked this year. So what we're starting to see with Mike McDaniel, and I think every year Mike McDaniel has learned from his mistakes and has progressed in a way of, obviously, like we said, the tight end, he fixed that up with Jonnu Smith. The wide receivers, he fixed that with Tyreek Hill. And even if you look at his draft picks, Patrick Paul looks pretty good. Achane looks like a stud. Chop Robinson looks great. A lot of his draft picks are turning out to be really, really good players. So under all of that, this year, December-wise, we have a better winning record. We're 3-4 basically in December, which is better than we've ever had. Usually we were typically like 1 and whatever, like we could not win in December. We're almost 500, and if we win next game, we'd be 500 for December, which has been a steady improvement for Mike McDaniel. And that's why I say I think he deserves another chance, because I know by the way that it's been going that Mike McDaniel's going to improve the offensive line. He's going to see that his offense can't run without a pretty decent offensive line, because it takes too long for things to develop, and if you have a crap offensive line. So what you see is that Mike McDaniel continually learns. The trick plays, they're not happening as much as they were before, and I think honestly he's just becoming a better head coach every year. And I think the last part is, twofold. I think the defense is pretty decent. Obviously we need some safeties, but Javon Holland didn't play that bad this game either. I think he realizes that the key to this team right now is the offensive line. So regardless of what we do this year, it has been pinpointed that the offensive line needs to have adjustments and that it needs to be improved to the point where Tua understands that he is protected and he doesn't get jittery and crazy feet in certain games. And every single year, Mike McDaniel has seen that and made an adjustment and brought somebody in. And this is why even maybe if Chris Greer stays, it is what it is. But I think they're going to learn from this year. You see this game that, a game like this that Tua's out. We all thought that this team was going to fold and lose to the Browns. And they ended up winning 20 to, I think it's still going, but it's like 20-3 right now. They basically beat them down with Tyler Huntley, and it wasn't the greatest game, but our defense played stellar and our offense played just good enough to score points. I honestly think that Mike McDaniel, he just proved, if he wins next game, if he wins and brings us to the playoffs again, I mean, sometimes you could be a little spoiled. I know we haven't won it, but we had like decades of just never getting to the playoffs, being an 800 team, and having Mike McDaniel going to the playoffs 3 separate times and seeing that he's continually learning is a big difference maker. So I truly think that at the end of this, Tyler Huntley played great. It's starting to see that the coaching can continue to improve, but they do, and they don't just stay stagnant. And that's the key that I think to all of this. A lot of coaches, they keep doing the same thing over and over again. Mike McDaniel keeps switching things up. He keeps adjusting, and especially this year, because he's been forced to, he continues to adjust and continues to do things. And I think he's learned a lot from this past year. And I'm telling you right now, I think once this offseason comes, because in the playoffs, we'll see what happens if we make it to the playoffs. But I think he realizes that this offseason, the priority is going to be offensive linemen. And you're going to see that like right from the beginning when you can add additions, that we're going to be starting to target offensive linemen, developing Patrick Paul, Austin Jackson, all of these guys, and putting depth behind them just in case, because we've seen that it's been continually the depth isn't there. And right now, even with Tyler Huntley against pretty decent, Myles Garrett pass rush, we were able to hold the ball for a certain amount of seconds. When you have Isaiah Wynn in there, I mean, we have most of the pieces. You just need a couple more. You have Aaron Brewer, you have Isaiah Wynn plays pretty well. Austin Jackson's going to be back next year. Kendall Lamb's a good backup. And Patrick Paul looks all right, so you get a couple more pieces to solidify this and depth behind that. And you'll have a decent team, and I think Mike sees that. So we'll see what happens the next week, and we'll make some more videos coming out of this week of what we need to do and how it needs to happen. But we're still in the playoff race, man, and that's more than we could say for a lot of the coaches that we've had. And I think the adjustments will be made. And, depending on what happens next week, I think Mike McDaniel deserves to keep this job and see if he can improve on what he's built and what he's done wrong. So we'll see what happens. But great win today. Fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.